The Galactic Combat Academy's crystalline halls echoed with the sound of clashing energy blades and the thunderous impacts of gravitational hammers. For 3 cycles, Jack Morrison had endured the stares, the whispers, and the barely concealed disgust of his alien classmates. The human was a curiosity at best, an embarrassment at worst. "Pathetic," hissed Zextar, the reptilian Vorthak instructor, as Jack's practice sword clattered to the polished floor for the 100th time that morning. "Your species claims to be warriors, yet you cannot even maintain grip on a basic neural-linked blade." Jack wiped the sweat from his brow and retrieved his weapon. Around him, the other cadets, towering chromatic giants with their 4 arms, sleek ethereal beings who moved like liquid mercury, and the insectoid hive minds with their perfect coordination, all performed their combat routines with supernatural grace. Each species had evolved for warfare in their own way. Humans, it seemed, had evolved for failure. "Perhaps," suggested Daisy Chen, the only other human in the academy, during their evening meal of synthesized proteins, "we're approaching this wrong." Jack looked up from his untouched food cube. Daisy had failed every test too, but somehow she maintained her optimism. Her dark eyes sparkled with the same curiosity that had gotten them both accepted into the academy despite their species' reputation. "What do you mean?" Jack asked. "Every species here fights the way their biology dictates," she said, gesturing toward a group of hive minds who ate in perfect synchronization. "The chromatics use brute force because they're naturally strong. The ethereals use speed because they're naturally fast. The Vorthaks use precision because their nervous systems are wired for it. And humans? We adapt." Daisy's smile was small but determined. "We survive by thinking differently." The next day brought the trials of ascension, the final examination that would determine who among the cadets would graduate to become galactic defenders. Jack watched as species after species demonstrated their mastery of conventional combat techniques. Energy blades sang through the air, gravitational fields warped reality itself, and neural disruptors sent waves of paralysis across the arena floor. When his turn came, Jack stepped into the combat circle facing Thane Korvax, the Academy's champion, a chromatic whose 4 arms could wield weapons with impossible coordination. The alien stood nearly 3 meters tall, his chitinous exoskeleton gleaming under the arena lights. "This is your final opportunity to withdraw with honor," Instructor Zextar announced. "Combat against Champion Korvax has left many warriors hospitalized." Jack looked up at the viewing gallery where Daisy sat among hundreds of spectators. She gave him a subtle nod, not of encouragement but of understanding. They had spent the previous night talking, not about fighting techniques or weapon mastery, but about human history, about the species that had survived ice ages, plagues, and wars not through superior strength or speed but through stubborn creativity. "I'm ready," Jack said. Korvax activated his 4 weapons, 2 energy blades, a gravitational mace, and a neural whip that crackled with purple electricity. The combination should have been impossible for any being to counter. The match began. Jack did something no one expected. He dropped his weapon. Korvax hesitated, confused by this apparent surrender. That moment of confusion was all Jack needed. Instead of attacking, Jack began to move, not with the fluid grace of an ethereal or the precision of a Vorthak, but with something entirely different. He moved unpredictably. He stumbled, recovered, rolled awkwardly, and scrambled in directions that made no tactical sense. To the observers, it looked like panic. To Korvax, who had trained against every known fighting style in the galaxy, it was incomprehensible. The Chromatic Champion's 4-weapon system was designed to counter conventional attacks from conventional positions. But Jack wasn't attacking. He was surviving, adapting, becoming impossible to predict. Every swing of Korvax's weapons missed, by inches as Jack moved in ways that violated every principle of combat efficiency. Then, while Korvax was mid-swing with all 4 weapons committed to strikes that should have been impossible to avoid, Jack did something that would be talked about in the Academy for generations. He grabbed a handful of arena sand and threw it directly into Korvax's primary eyes. It was crude. It was unsophisticated. It was a move that no warrior of any species would consider worthy of combat. and it worked perfectly. Temporarily blinded, Korvac staggered backward. Jack didn't grab a weapon or attempt some elaborate martial arts technique. Instead, he simply pushed, using his full body weight and leveraging the champion's momentum to send the massive chromatic tumbling out of the combat circle. The arena fell silent. Technical victory. Jack Morrison had defeated the Academy champion without landing a single blow with a proper weapon. Impossible, breathed Instructor Zextar. But Daisy was already on her feet in the gallery, clapping slowly. She understood what had happened. Jack hadn't won by being stronger, faster, or more skilled than Korvac. He had won by being something the galactic combat system had never accounted for, utterly, completely, brilliantly human. In the weeks that followed, as Jack became the first human to graduate from the Galactic Combat Academy, xenobiologists and military strategists would analyze his victory. They would coin new terms: adaptive chaos theory and evolutionary improvisation doctrine. But Jack knew the truth was simpler than that. Humans didn't win by being the best at what other species did. They won by doing what other species would never think to do. Sometimes the greatest strength wasn't strength at all. Sometimes it was the willingness to throw sand in your opponent's eyes and call it strategy. As he stood at graduation accepting his defender's insignia, Jack caught Daisy's eye in the crowd. She winked at him, and he knew she was already planning how to fail her way to the top of whatever challenge came next. After all, they were human. Failing forward was what they did best.